It's a red rock wonderland of hidden canyons, amazing formations, magnificent rivers, and America's greatest concentration of national parks. The most famous, the Grand Canyon, is one of the natural wonders of the world. Surrounding it, a constellation of lesser-known but equally fascinating parks. Zion, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, Arches, Canyonlands, Mesa Verde, a roll call of geologic wonders. Where adventure is everywhere. Here the visitor can get in touch with another America, a wild America, where nature prevails, a place of solitude and wild creatures. Ancient trails shared by early Native Americans, hardy Western pioneers, and modern-day adventurers. Spread under an azure sky, canyon upon canyon, as far as the eye can see. The desert Southwest was the last area mapped in the United States. In the heart of the American Southwest, where Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah meet in what is called Four Corners, the Colorado River and its tributaries dissect a gigantic geologic uplift, the Colorado Plateau. Four major cities ring this remote land: Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Denver. In its heart, a magnificent concentration of parks and monuments. Zion, Virgin River's dramatic gorge, Bryce Canyon and Cedar Breaks, a wonderland of hoodoos, the Grand Staircase, Escalante National Monument, one of the most isolated areas of the Southwest. Capitol Reef, shaped by geologic forces. Canyonlands, a labyrinth of canyons. Arches, stunning natural rock spans. Mesa Verde, mysterious cliff dwellings. Natural bridges, fantastic natural stone architecture. Familiar vistas, Monument Valley. And Grand Canyon, a World Heritage Site. Standing on the rim of the Grand Canyon for the first time, or the 100th time, is an unforgettable experience. Unfolding as far as the eye can see, one magnificent canyon in depth and distance impossible to fathom. What appears far below is a thin ribbon of water, the mighty Colorado River. Between the north and south rim, a profusion of canyons. Each of these canyons are huge, but in the immense scale of the Grand Canyon, they're merely supporting actors to the greatest chasm on Earth. The south rim of the Grand Canyon hosts millions of visitors a year. Just inside the eastern entrance of the park is Desert View Watchtower. Mary Coulter designed this world-famous citadel in 1932 as a rest stop and gift shop. Her stone tribute to Native Americans, a brilliant blend of art and architecture, is decorated with murals depicting Hopi mythology and religious ceremonies. This viewing platform provides a bird's-eye view of the Grand Canyon. Deep in the canyon, these granaries stored corn grown by ancestral Puebloans. Thousands of such prehistoric sites have been documented at the Grand Canyon, including the Tusayan ruins, 3 miles west of Desert View. It's 25 miles from Desert View to the Grand Canyon Village. Along the way, scores of jaw-dropping vistas. Theodore Roosevelt, in 1903, was so inspired, he declared Grand Canyon the one great sight which every American should see. At the heart of the Grand Canyon Village is a complex of historic buildings. El Tovar Hotel was built near the turn of the century by the Santa Fe Railway. In an effort to attract more ridership, the early railroads built many of America's first national park resorts. Hopi House is another architectural gem, designed by Mary Coulter. This Pueblo-style gift shop promotes native crafts. Just 200 feet from El Tovar is an important roosting area for the California condor. Once threatened with extinction, this magnificent bird with its massive 9-foot wingspan can travel over 100 miles in a single day. The Grand Canyon Railway made its first journey here in 1901. It's a 2-hour trip from the Williams Depot. Visitors to the South Rim can hop on a free shuttle bus to explore the park. Or take it out to the westernmost end of the road and Hermit's Rest, which retains its rustic charm, just as Mary Coulter envisioned it. This may be the end of the road, but not the end of the Grand Canyon. It stretches for another 180 miles. The north rim of the Grand Canyon is less visited, but the views are equally impressive. The lodge at Bright Angel Point is splendid in its isolation. While most see the Grand Canyon from the rim, a great adventure awaits anyone willing to descend into its rocky depths. Mule trips into the Grand Canyon recall the Old West. These sure-footed mules know the way, and the guides are happy to point out that they've never lost a traveler over the edge. Far more people experience the inner canyon on foot. Hike with caution. Extremes of heat and cold test even the experienced. For some, the ultimate canyon adventure is river rafting. It wasn't until 1869 that man successfully navigated the dangerous Colorado River through this perilous canyon. It was the one-armed John Wesley Powell who, despite warnings from Native Americans, led an expedition and conquered the raging waters using simple wooden boats. Most raft trips begin at Lee's Ferry, where Marble Canyon is the gateway to an astounding trip through the ages. Rafters are treated to a completely different perspective. The point of view is upward, through massive rock walls nearly a mile high. River runners gain a new appreciation of Powell's historic journey of discovery and the many treasures that still lie within the Grand Canyon. As the powerful Colorado River carves through Grand Canyon, it will drop over 2,200 feet. Gone are the days of uncharted expeditions.
I would drive up for that. Yes. Good for you, darling.
But the thrill of whitewater still awaits anyone with a thirst for adventure. In many ways, the Grand Canyon of the Colorado still remains just as Powell described it, the most sublime spectacle in nature, and the first step on our journey to the fabulous grand staircase of the Great Southwest. Canyon country is the earth revealed. This framework of bare rock brings to light the Southwest's unique architecture, a process measured in billions of years. The Colorado Plateau is a result of collisions of slow-moving plates deep within the earth, thrusting the land upward. Followed by eons of erosion that sculpted the land. Like stairs, rock layer upon rock layer, the Grand Staircase spans from the Grand Canyon, including the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, through Zion and on to BRYCE Canyon, and finally, Cedar Breaks. The oldest layers of the staircase are found in the depths of the Grand Canyon, which date back almost 2 billion years. Sedimentary layers rise to the canyon's rim, and the 270 million-year-old layer of Kaibab limestone. This layer stretches 100 miles northward to Zion, ultimately leading to the 125 million-year-old Carmel Formation atop East Temple. The same rim rock can be found 100 miles farther north, where it appears in the pink cliffs of Bryce Canyon National Park. Among these fantastic hoodoos, the passing sun is a mere blink of an eye in geologic time. Like an unhurried artist, the Virgin River's been carving out the canyon here in Zion National Park for millenniums. Towering walls of red rock embrace the bottomland of cottonwood, willow, oak, and grass, creating a dramatic setting. Adventurers come from all over the world to climb, hike, and scramble over the red rock terrain. While human history dates back to 6000 BC, it was Mormon pioneers who eventually named this amazing landscape, Zion. But it was a Methodist minister, Frederick Vining Fisher, who's credited with naming some of Zion's famous peaks. The Three Patriarchs, the Great White Throne, the West Temple, and the commanding Angel's Landing. To reach its lofty perch, hikers must switch back up a trail chiseled out of the canyon wall. This chain comes in handy when scrambling along a razor-thin edge. Until at last, they reach the summit. This view, thousands of feet above the Virgin River, is worth every step. At lower elevations, the land is desert. But in Zion's high country, the terrain is verdant. Its forests of conifers provide a refuge for condors, deer, and bobcats, among many other creatures. Water plays an important role here in Zion, filling creeks and streams that cascade into Zion's valley as waterfalls, transforming the desert into an oasis. Weeping Rock, with its constant moss-covered water display, is fed by an underground spring that flows through hard rock layers. On the west side of the valley, emerald pools provide a watery sanctuary for plants and animals. Look around. Nature's blessings are everywhere. Zion Lodge, located in the heart of the valley, was originally built for railroad travelers. From trail rides to bike rides, alternative transportation is encouraged within Zion Canyon. A modern tram system is available for visitors, making stops at popular destinations and helping to relieve congestion and pollution within the park.
The next stop is Canyon Junction.
At the northern end of Zion Valley, the canyon walls begin to taper and mark the beginnings of an unusual adventure. The Virgin River is the chief architect of this slot canyon called the Narrows. Hikers must navigate by wading upriver. Make sure you check the weather conditions. A flash flood in the Narrows leaves no room for escape. Further east, Zion displays a different personality. Highway 9 winds through this vividly colored patchwork of rocks and canyons. Checkerboard Mesa, with its deep sandstone furrows, is a favorite stop along this scenic route. Drivers entering the park from the east travel through Zion's historic tunnel. This engineering marvel is over a mile long and was blasted out of solid rock. Windows provide a tantalizing glimpse of what's to come. For an unobstructed view, a scenic trail leads to the Zion Canyon overlook. On the west side of the park, Kolob Canyon offers dramatic cliffs and hanging valleys. A launching point for hikes into the remote canyons. And one of the world's longest arches, Kolob Arch. Zion, an ever-changing masterpiece of nature. In the heart of Utah's high plateau country, magnificent sculpted rocks called hoodoos are the star attraction at Bryce Canyon National Park. Bryce Canyon isn't really a canyon. It's a series of limestone amphitheaters carved out of the Paunsaugunt Plateau's eastern edge. These distinctive pink rocks, perched atop the grand staircase, are young in geologic terms, a mere 50 to 60 million years old. Geologists believe these formations are a result of a dynamic series of events that spanned millions of years. Sediments, some thousands of feet thick, deposited in an ancient lake, were brought to the surface by uplift. Ultimately, water shaped these formations, mainly as ice forming in cracks, a process known as ice wedging. Native Americans of the area, the Paiute people, tell another story of the hoodoo's creation. Long ago, in the time before Indians, the legend people resided here. The Paiutes claim they were mystical animals that could take the form of people. And according to legend, one day they did something wicked. Then the powerful spirit, Coyote, became angry with them and turned them into rocks. Look closely and you'll see them, standing in rows, sitting, some clinging to each other, many with paint on their faces. There's plenty of wildlife to see on the high plateau. Also found on the windswept cliffs at the south end of Bryce Canyon, one of the oldest living things on Earth. A bristlecone pine can live up to 5,000 years. Bryce Canyon was named after Ebenezer Bryce, a Mormon settler who moved to this remote southern Utah valley back in the 1800s with his wife Mary. Bryce lasted about 5 years before moving on. Ebenezer would be surprised to find that the isolated badlands he left behind now attract people from all around the world. Along the serrated edge of the amphitheater, lookouts offer memorable vistas. Sunset Point, Bryce Point, and the ever-popular Sunrise Point. You're welcome to hit the trail by horseback or take to the trails on foot. There's plenty to see. On the Navajo Loop, dramatic cliffs rise steeply to surround the trail. A 500-year-old Douglas fir competes for sunlight among the cliffs at Wall Street. This wintry blanket of snow is a familiar sight at Bryce. At over 8,000 feet in elevation at the rim, winter's grip can hang on well into spring. Brilliant whites highlight the intricate network of spires. And where there's snow, there's winter sports. Bryce Canyon is truly a park for all seasons. Just a short drive west of Bryce at Red Canyon, Highway 12 tunnels through colorful rock, reminiscent of Bryce. Here the hoodoos line the scenic highway. And the surrounding Dixie Forest is a recreational playground. Nearly 40 miles west is another amphitheater the Indians used to call Circle of Painted Cliffs. Cedar Breaks National Monument sits at 10,000 feet with a commanding view of southern Utah. Like BRYCE, it features a huge amphitheater of brilliantly colored spires, columns, and arches. The scale is enormous, 3 miles across and more than 2,000 feet deep. And don't miss the sunset, when the setting sun casts its colorful spell on the hoodoos and twilight falls on the plateau. The vast landscape of the Grand Staircase, Escalante National Monument, is one of the most isolated areas of the Southwest. Its collection of scenic and historic lands are rugged and remote. Travelers are challenged by its isolation. And charged with protecting its beautiful resources. Including some of the most recent and scientifically important discoveries of dinosaurs. It ranges from the spectacular Grand Staircase of cliffs and terraces to the beauty of Escalante River canyons. In total, it spans nearly 2 million acres of public lands. Open for adventure. Capitol Reef National Park is desert country. Here, you can witness a nearly 100-mile-long warp in the Earth's crust, the astonishing Water Pocket Fold. High-clearance vehicles are recommended to explore remote areas of this isolated backcountry. The powerful geologic forces that shaped the Colorado Plateau also created Capitol Reef's tiered rock layers. These long, parallel ridgelines were eventually eroded by water, forming this magnificent landscape. Survival in this arid expanse is challenging. Yearly rainfall, a scant 6 or 7 inches. Summer storms supply most of the moisture here. Then the sun-baked stream beds flow with life-sustaining water. And the desert blooms. Although rainfall is rare, the Fremont River runs year-round. Over 1,000 years ago, the Fremont people farmed corn on the flatlands and hunted deer along this river. On the canyon walls, they painted pictographs and etched petroglyphs. But what do these portrayals tell us? Does this ancient art represent symbolic messages from the past? No one is certain. Nor do we know the reason for the Fremont people's sudden exodus from the region around 1300 AD. Less puzzling is the story of the Mormon pioneers who settled on the banks of the Fremont River centuries later. Elijah Behunin carved blocks out of the Red Rock Cliffs to build this rock cabin back in 1891. This was home for Elijah, his wife, and 8 children, until floods from the Fremont River washed away their crops. The Behunins picked up and relocated to Fruita, a few miles upstream, where they joined other farmers and planted orchards which still bear their names, as do the quaint homes they lived in. It was a close-knit community of 8 to 10 families, complete with a blacksmith shop and a schoolhouse. The Fruita School was built on land Elijah Behunin donated to the community. His daughter Nellie began teaching all 8 grades in this quaint one-room schoolhouse at the ripe old age of 14. By the time Capitol Reef was declared a national monument in 1937, residents had already begun leaving. Soon after the outbreak of World War II in 1941, the students closed their books and the school bell rang for the last time. Farm equipment rusted in the fields, and the isolated frontier life came to an end. But its legacy lives on in the national park. This paved road, once a footpath for Native Americans, then a wagon road for Mormons and ranchers, is now the scenic drive for the park. It leads to Grand Wash and the trailhead to Cassidy Arch. The paved road ends at Capitol Gorge, a narrow passageway through rocky skyscrapers, which was the main road until 1962, that still preserves graffiti from Native Americans and travelers at the Pioneer Register. In some areas, sandstone in the water pocket fold is eroded into monumental white domed peaks. These rounded formations reminded early travelers of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Other sections reveal towering ridges 1,000 feet high of nearly impassable rock, or reefs as we call them today, which is how the area came to be known as Capitol Reef, where dramatic desert landscape and colorful human history combine for a fascinating adventure. But Utah has a few more impressive landmarks to visit. We'll head east to a new destination. Arches National Park is a land of astonishing rock formations. This amazing collection of natural rock spans is unrivaled anywhere in the world. The park is home to over 2,500 natural sandstone arches. Like Landscape Arch. Its 306-foot span qualifies as one of the longest arches in the world. Distinctive shapes make them readily identifiable. Broken Arch, Turret Arch, Skyline Arch, and one of the most recognizable, Double Arch, and the seemingly gravity-defying Delicate Arch. The salmon-colored Entrada sandstone form the beginnings of most arches. With enough time, some sandstone fins will eventually become arches. Water in all its forms, extreme temperatures, wind, and ancient salt beds all work in concert to shaping these arches. As the erosion assails the softer parts of the fins, only the hardened sandstone rock remains to form the arch. While erosion is usually a gradual process, there are exceptions. In 1940, Skyline Arch looked like this. Later that year, when a huge boulder tumbled from the opening, it almost doubled in size. In 1991, nature remodeled Landscape Arch when a 60-foot slab broke free from the underside of the arch, leaving an even thinner ribbon of rock. But there's more to arches than sandstone. It's also home to the wily coyote and the wary cottontail and other high desert dwellers. Water is in short supply in the high desert. Salt Creek is one of the few year-round streams in Arches. Near the creek is a panel of petroglyphs, evidence that Native Americans once passed through the park. In the 1800s, the Wolf family lived nearby and watered their cattle at the stream. Civil War veteran John Wesley Wolf, together with his son Fred, ranched here for 20 years. A rundown corral, rustic root cellar, and weathered cabin are a reminder of their hardscrabble frontier life. In the 1950s, one of the West's most famous writers, Edward Abbey, spent time as a seasonal ranger in Arches. He would go on to write the classic Desert Solitaire. The wondrous collection of sandstone formations in Arches National Park also includes spires, balanced rocks, sandstone fens, and monoliths. A cruise down the scenic drive is unforgettable. But for those with more time, short hikes lead to Turret Arch, North Window, and South Window, and Balanced Rock. Arches landscape was not always a desert. About 165 million years ago, the area was temperate and much cooler, home to dinosaurs. These are their footprints: three-toed meat eaters and giant four-legged plant eaters that weighed more than an elephant. Footprints left in the mud of ancient island seas were turned to stone, and after millions of years, revealed by the same process of uplift and erosion that formed the arches. Today's travelers leave behind different kinds of tracks. Bike tracks. The rugged terrain in the public lands outside of Arches National Park has become a mountain biker's mecca, home to some of the most demanding and scenic mountain biking in the world. The charming city of Moab is a gateway city for adventure. The fabled Slick Rock Trail leads to family fun. ATVs, scenic flights, river rafting, rock climbing. Four-wheel drive enthusiasts also flock here to test their vehicles and driving skills on trails like Steel Bender, Upchuck, and Metal Masher. Navigating these established trails is all part of the challenge of four-wheeling. And a passport to the incredible Red Rock scenery. To experience some really rugged backcountry, head to nearby Canyonlands National Park. This national park is enormous. 527 square miles of canyons, mesas, and buttes. The Colorado and Green Rivers divide the park into 4 districts. The rivers themselves, Island in the Sky, a mesa isolated by towering cliffs 1,000 feet high. The Needles, a land of majestic rock pinnacles. And the Maze, a confusing complex of secluded canyons. If you're looking for wide open spaces, this is the place. A rugged backcountry waiting to be explored, remote and isolated. These tortuous dirt roads will test the skill of any four-wheel driver. Some ride their mountain bikes, others choose to hike. Hugging the border of the Maze District is the Orange Cliffs portion of Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. It is crisscrossed with rough roads carved out by uranium hunters during the 1950s. a history that whispers of forgotten mining camps and cowboy cabins. Nearby canyons and ravines served as a hideout for outlaws like the Wild Bunch. Robert Leroy Parker and Harry Longabaugh, also known as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, often hid from the law in these rocky alcoves. Near the maze, the secluded Horseshoe Canyon preserves some of the most magnificent examples of Barrier Canyon-style rock art in North America. Painted and etched by prehistoric Native American artists, these ethereal human-like figures are a window to a world over 2,000 years old. Island in the Sky offers some of the most dramatic views in Canyonlands. And one of the most photographed vistas in Canyonlands, Mesa Arch. A short distance away is Upheaval Dome. This curious geologic feature remains at the center of a scientific debate. Is its giant crater-like appearance the result of a meteorite or underground rock deformation? The answer is still unclear. The northernmost district of Canyonlands is home to mule deer. And desert bighorn sheep. Once numbering in the millions, these wary creatures were pushed to near extinction by disease and overhunting, but now appear headed for a comeback. Moving in small bands, they climb easily up cliffs and across rocky ledges. Difficult to spot, they survive in some of the most inhospitable land in canyon country. Schaefer Trail is a spectacular switchback dirt road that was once used by miners and cattlemen. Today it's a biker's fast track down to the White Rim. White Rim Road is a dusty adventure that loops around and below the island mesa top for 100 miles. 2 to 4 days are needed to make the journey, and mountain bikers must be accompanied by a 4-wheel drive support vehicle. The expansive views along the rough ride reveal Canyonlands' sublime beauty. Sharing the mesa top with Island in the Sky is Dead Horse Point State Park. Dawn from the overlook is simply unforgettable. A multitude of red rock canyons stretch to the horizon, some nearly a mile deep. Located in the southeast corner of Canyonlands is its 3rd district, the Needles. Its distinctive sandstone pillars, arches, and domes date back 270 million years to the Permian Age. The white rock is sandstone created from ancient sand dunes, while the red color is derived from layer upon layer of river and lake sediment. Cave Springs Trail leads along the base of a sandstone formation to a spring, which during the cowboy era of Canyonlands provided water for the old camp in the cave. Exploring this area by a tangle of rough roads and trails is challenging. Elephant Hill is one of the most difficult four-wheel drive roads in canyon country. And it's no easy feat to navigate. High-clearance off-road vehicles equipped to travel independently are a necessity, and they're no guarantee for success.
Keep going.
A four-wheel drive road leads to the spectacular Confluence Overlook, 1,000 feet above the picturesque Colorado and Green Rivers. Over millions of years, their flowing waters have carved through more than 10 layers of rock. Upriver from the confluence, the waters are calm. Tour boats offer a carefree gateway to the scenery. For a more vigorous encounter with the Colorado River, try rafting, kayaking, or a dory. Entering into Cataract Canyon, the walls swing shut, the beginning of 14 thrilling miles of rapids. At the big drop, the river descends 30 feet in 1 mile, creating a heart-pounding whitewater experience. Within Canyonlands National Park, the rivers are still free-flowing and wild. But just downriver from the park boundary, the Colorado River runs into Lake Powell. Beneath its placid waters is the fabled Glen Canyon. Construction of the Glen Canyon Dam was completed in 1963. It took 17 years for the Lake Powell Reservoir to completely fill. Creating over 2,000 miles of magnificent shoreline. This is a playground for water sports and exploring. On the east side of the lake is a natural wonder, often described as the largest natural bridge in the world, Rainbow Bridge. This massive stone arch stands taller than our nation's capital and is nearly as long as a football field. Until the creation of Lake Powell, the bridge occupied a remote canyon several miles away from the shores of the Colorado River. Now, thanks to Glen Canyon Dam, boaters have easier access to this sacred landmark. The Navajo believe rainbows represent the guardians of the earth. Many tribes still travel here to pay homage to this natural wonder. In 1883, prospector Cass Height stumbled upon this remarkable find. 3 of the world's finest examples of natural bridges. He and his fellow prospectors first named them president, senator, and congressman in order of their sizes. Natural bridges look like arches, but it took millions of years for meandering streams to carve through the canyon walls and form these natural stone bridges. After the monument was expanded to include nearby Puebloan ruins, the names of the bridges were changed in honor of the ancestral Puebloans who once lived in the area. So Congressman eventually became Owachomo, which means flat rock mound. President was changed to Sipapu, a place of emergence. And senator was given the Hopi name for dancer, Kachina. A visit to Mesa Verde is like traveling back in time. You can explore ancient dwellings and scale to lofty heights with a ranger. Or take a drive along the Loop Road. Walk a cliffside trail to witness rock art. Wander through the foundations of early civilizations. Mesa Verde literally means green table in Spanish. This bountiful table provides habitat for many animals. Some of the same species that sustained hunters who once lived here, in Cliff Palace. One of the best preserved cliff dwellings in the world, this site tells just part of the story of human history at Mesa Verde. The first dwellings were believed to be semi-subterranean pit houses, home to the basket makers. Later, more elaborate mesa-top dwellings were built, called pueblos. These lodgings could accommodate many families living together. Farview Complex includes several villages, some with lodges boasting up to 40 rooms. Their pottery was beautifully decorated. Later, for reasons we may never know, they constructed and relocated to elaborate cliff dwellings. These stunning structures, dramatically located in naturally occurring alcoves, remain to pique our curiosity. Cliff Palace, Balcony House, Spruce Tree House, Kodak House. Then, sometime around 1290 AD, they mysteriously left Mesa Verde. Perhaps it was a drought, or as some contemporary tribes suggest, it was just time to continue their migration. But whatever the reasons were, their legacy remains alive and well, and continues to this day in pueblos across America's great Southwest. Perhaps the most enduring images of the American West are here, in Monument Valley. This Navajo Nation tribal park straddles the Arizona-Utah border in the fabled Four Corners region of the Southwest. The Navajo say, it is a place to walk in beauty. If you can't shake that feeling of déjà vu, you have good reason. These panoramic vistas are known the world over, captured in countless movies, a landmark that's hosted a parade of stars from John Wayne to Tom Cruise. There's even a spot named John Ford Point, named after the legendary director who filmed the classic Stagecoach here back in 1939. He later returned to film 9 more westerns. The East and West Mittens are the twin buttes whose images have helped define this iconic landscape. Monument Valley's not a valley in the classic sense, but more of a flat, desolate expanse, punctuated by towering sandstone formations. As forbidding as it looks, this desert region is home to Navajo people. While most Navajo have replaced the time-honored hogan with more contemporary housing, a few Navajo families still practice the traditional ways, tending their sheep, whose wool is later carded and spun into yarn. And woven into blankets and rugs. A centuries-old artistry handed down from generation to generation. Time slows down here in the nation, preserving a way of life and the proud Navajo people who endure, as does the unforgettable desert beauty of Monument Valley. The Great Southwest is still America's legacy, wild and waiting. A place where shadows of the Navajo still cross the landscape beneath a sapphire sky. Brilliantly colored canyons, where Butch and Sundance could easily find a hideout. Where orchards blossom from trees planted a century ago by Mormon pioneers. Places of adventure. Untouched and unimaginable wilderness, protected and preserved forever. For all the generations yet to come, a Red Rock adventure and a sense of personal discovery await in the Great Southwest.